Make sure everybody's muted too, please.
Do I want to make sure what?
Everybody is muted as well. That's not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I would do that. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending our monthly virtual lecture and Q&A series. We are thrilled to invite or have Amanda join us this evening. And I will turn it over to her and let her introduce herself and talk a little bit further about what we're going to be doing this evening. So thanks, Amanda.
Thank you. I'm super honored to be here and super excited to be able to share this information with you guys. My name is Amanda Halamka, and I actually live in Arizona, and I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Arizona. And I love to share information and help other people. And so I was asked by Allison to talk about this topic because we had met in another area and I talked about it in the same way. So right before we get started, I just want to verify or remind you guys to make sure you have a piece of paper, 3 different color writing utensils, so that we're going to do an activity in a little bit, and you're going to need the 3 different colors for a reason of this activity. Okay. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know as we go through this. So this is a huge loaded topic in so many ways and so many avenues. As I've been thinking about this and discussing this a lot in the last couple months, it really is hard because it resonates in so many ways with so many people. So I'm excited to get to share it with you guys and to think about too, that there's a lot of different perspectives to look at this topic as well, but it's still hard no matter what we do. So hopefully you guys can get some good information. And again, if you have questions, we'll answer those at the end. So recently I was listening to a current book that I was reading, and it reminded me that there are times that we need to grieve things that have changed in our lives. And really, if you think about that, we have to grieve our bodies as well, because our bodies are part of that process. Throughout our lives, we can think about so many times our bodies have changed. So here's some examples for you guys. When we were younger and our hormones started to change, most of us got a little chubbier. When we would get chubbier, we would also get chubbier before we got taller. With our periods, our bodies would change and we would get chubbier and things would be different. As well as with any injury, any illness, when we were pregnant, if we had any body changes or anything that was going on, our body dynamic and our body setup would change. And it was all circumstances beyond our control. However, when we were younger, we also have that time in our lives where we visualize how our lives are going to look, what we're going to look like, what our partners will look like, what our children will look like, what our house will look like, what our jobs will look like, and that whole fantasy world we live in. However, that's not always true, and it doesn't always come out to be that way. So when life doesn't look that way, then we have shame, guilt, anger, frustration, and we beat ourselves up for it. Whether it's in our control or not, we do beat ourselves up. We have to remember, though, being the Disney fanatic that I am, we all grow out of the fantasy land rides. So sometimes we have to realize that our fantasy world, or what we think our life or our body should look like, aren't necessarily going to be that way. So I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you guys. And even though my story may be a little bit different than yours, my journey emotionally is very similar to you guys. Again, we all go through changes at different times. So I had worked really hard in my life to get healthy and to lose weight. I was over 225 pounds. I quit weighing myself at that point. So I decided I was going to get healthy. I lost 85 pounds and I got injured. So here's a little side note. I'm a runner, and I could no longer run. So that brought on muscle atrophy and I gained weight. Actually stepped on the scale a week and a half ago and it scares me right now even. But I've battled depression severely through this journey of my injury. I would say I just want my body back when it hit me one day that my body will never, ever return to what it was before, because I'm learning my body a little bit differently and I need to be willing to accept that. My body will truly forever be different. Forever is an event in our life. Trauma is part of that event of change because it's out of my control. So let me say, like, trauma is anything that changes your life. It can be positive or negative, but anything that changes your life is a trauma because you're going to have to adjust to it. So even when you have a baby, it's a trauma because your life drastically changes. So if you think about that for trauma as we go through and talk through some of this, because that will be significant as we process through some of the acceptance in this. But my body went through trauma, not only through surgery, but not being able to run. And now having to come back and be different. I am in rehab and I work with a running coach all the time. So it's really hard and it's a lot of hard work, but trauma will never allow us to go back in the same dynamic of what we were before. Emotions connect to trauma, and processing all of it is a lot. It is so much to process that. Sometimes we go through robot mode and we do not allow ourselves to slow down enough to process all the areas of change in our lives. So if you guys think about, if we're talking specifically about breast cancer, you go in robot mode because you go to this doctor, you go to that doctor, you go do this, you go do that. I very similar had that circumstance of going to this doctor, going to that doctor, trying everything, go do PT, go do this, go do that. And it was like, my life was drastically changed. And I finally went to my podiatrist and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. My life has changed and I can't continue to destroy my own life and not even being able to walk. I couldn't fly on an airplane. It was awful. And I was in extreme pain. So we had to do something. And that meant that I had to go in for surgery, but it was robot mode. And even after surgery, it was, don't wait, Bear, don't do this, don't do that. And so I didn't get time to slow down enough and be mindful and be in that moment to be able to process some of what was going on with my body and the choices I was making. So if we're mindful and we give ourselves grace, we pause to be able to accept and see things a little bit differently. But truly, a lot of times when we're going through those journeys, we don't get that time, because if we slow down, then we don't know how to move forward, or we don't know how to reset, or we don't know how to not, it's kind of like opening the floodgates sometimes. And so we just go in that robot mode over and over and over and over, and we don't slow down enough to feel or think or look at things or know what's going on or know what's happening or knowing what we need to do, or self-care for that matter at all. So we're just doing what we need to do to get it done to be able to move forward. So, any questions so far? Everybody's good? Following along? I'm going to assume yes. So I had a discussion years ago with somebody who was on Biggest Loser. And I asked him what he saw when he looked in the mirror, even though he had lost an outrageous amount of weight. We know that's what happened on that show, right? And he had told me that he still sees the fat him. Well, when I went through this journey, I too saw the image of my fat self. Even though I had lost over 85 pounds, I can see it in pictures, but I could never, ever see it in the mirror. So if we talk a little bit about truth and how your mind works, we're typically super hard on ourselves when we look in the mirror. And a lot of times we notice the negative. However, our society has created us to look at negatives a lot of the time, and we actually classify things mostly in positive and negative, but really there is a neutral zone, and we don't have to have a positive or negative emotion that goes with things. So if we can actually look at things and see that most things in our lives are neutral, it will allow us to accept things as well. And acceptance really is pausing and thinking, because you can't go back and change the past. You can only accept it. It's your story, it's your journey. So we have to accept that part. So if you're in the neutral, that means that you're not necessarily classifying things in a positive or negative category. But yet when we look at ourselves, we are super critical, and we are usually very negative on ourselves, and we don't typically see what's there. So before I move forward, let's do a little activity. This is going to be that time when you guys need that piece of paper and those 3 different color writing utensils. So hopefully everybody has that. So the first thing I want you to do on that piece of paper is that I want you to draw a picture of yourself in the middle of that paper. Don't make it too big, because we're going to do other activities with this or fill it up with other things. And I don't care if it's a stick figure, but it needs to be a picture of you. So hopefully you now have that picture of you in the middle of that piece of paper. And now I want you can use that same color that you drew you in the middle, or you can pick a different one of your 3 colors, but you are going to use all 3 of them. So it's up to you for how you use them. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to write down around that picture of you adjectives to describe yourself: positive, negative, and neutral. Write down as many adjectives to describe yourself as you can, and allow yourself to just feel that and write that on paper. Nobody's reading it, nobody's seeing it but you. I'll give you guys about a minute more to be able to do that. So remember, this is if you're looking in a mirror, what would you write down to describe yourself if you were looking at yourself? Now I'll have you guys grab a different color. And I want you to write down adjectives on how other people have told you that they see you. So all over your paper again, as many as you can possibly write down adjectives of how people have told you that they see you. And I'll give you guys about 2 minutes to do that. Now I'll have you guys grab your last color. And I want you to think about how you want to see yourself. So write some adjectives for how you want to see yourself. And again, I'll give you a couple minutes for that. The more that you guys can write, the more it's going to help you with some acceptance of things. So now I want you to look at your sheet of paper and think about which one of those adjectives that you cover up, and what adjectives do you allow to be in the open and allow other people to see or allow yourself to see. Because there's a lot of times that we hide stuff, but if we're open about them, it allows us to accept them and know that those are okay situations, okay circumstances, okay things about us, because they're for right now. They may not be forever. They may be, but they may not be. If we cover it up, we're avoiding it and we're not acknowledging where we are. Again, this goes back to the acceptance of our story. So if you guys want to have a little more fun, I'll challenge you to do this activity again, but I want you to like sit in front of a mirror, and you can use dry and erase markers and actually write the adjectives around you while you look in the mirror. It puts a different perspective on things, big time. So let's talk a little bit about acceptance. Acceptance is the key to so much that we do in life, that we're able to move forward by having different perspectives if we accept. That doesn't mean that we're saying that things are okay, or that we're just making everything all right, but it is the fact of, this is where I am today. This is where I am now. That doesn't mean that's where you are forever. And I'll give you an example. So like Sunday, again, I'm a runner. So Sunday I went out running and I ran like 5 minutes, and that's all I could do. And I was so frustrated and annoyed with myself because it's my long run day and I just couldn't run. My lungs weren't working. My body wasn't working and wasn't functioning. And so I was getting really frustrated with myself, and I was like, this is silly. Like, this is where I am today. So I stopped my workout and I decided I was just going to walk, and I would walk further than I would be running, and that it was going to have to be okay because I don't have any other option. I couldn't run. So yesterday morning I went out to run and I like killed it. I ran for like an hour. It was awesome. Best time I've had and best run I've had in a really, really long time. Had I not stopped and accepted the fact that I couldn't run Sunday, yesterday's run may not have been as good. So it is accepting the circumstances for what it is right now. Acceptance of trauma in your story is part of your journey. This is where you are today. And again, tomorrow may be different. However, every day is going to look different. Now, because I ran so good yesterday doesn't mean tomorrow I'll be able to run that good either, because circumstances change every day. So there's a lot of times I say, okay, it's today, it's fine. Tomorrow's going to look different, and the day after that, or 6 months after that, or 6 days after that. So it's all about perspective of things. I talk so much about perspective in my office with clients, and this is the example I use all the time because it makes so much sense. So let's say that you drive to the grocery store and you go to the grocery store the same way every single time that you go to the grocery store. There's probably 7 or 8 other ways that you can go to the grocery store, but you choose not to go that way. That doesn't make those other ways wrong. It doesn't make those other ways right. It makes them different. It makes them uncomfortable, and it makes them just sit a little bit differently because it's change. I'm going to tell you guys, like, change is part of life. And if you struggle with change, that is part of the battle, because truly change is part of life. And it's the same with resolving conflict. Conflict is growth. It doesn't have to be divide. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. Every time we look at a different perspective, every time we choose to make changes, every time we look at change, it's acceptance that it's okay to do something differently. Our body changes every day. We have to accept that. I know that doesn't give you like the magic wand to make everything better and make you feel better, but it is acceptance. And it's the baby steps of those change to move forward. You're not going to change everything tomorrow in any part of life, much less your body. I'm not going to lose the 85 pounds I gained back, not all of it, some of it, but tomorrow it's just not going to happen. But I know that I have to eat healthy, and I have to work out, and I have to do the things to work to get my body back where I need it to be. But it's also never going to go back where it was, because I'm working out differently. I'm doing strength training. I'm building muscle. I'm learning how to be an athlete, which I've never been in my life. So it's that reality again of good, bad, positive, negative, or the neutral. We have to accept our bodies, our lives, our circumstances. Acceptance is a huge part of life. You can't go back and relive trauma. You can't go back and relive choices. You can't go back. You made the best decision with the choices you had at that time. And now it's time to accept it and move forward. Okay, what can I do next? What can I do next? But also taking that time to take care of you in self-care. So let me try and find my place. So if we are in acceptance, we realize that most things in our lives are out of our control anyhow. If we pause and we're mindful, which means realizing circumstances beyond us, we have to look at the facts that our body is what it is today. So one thing I've been working in my office with a lot of clients about too is that our bodies, to look in the mirror and look at facts versus opinion, is huge. An opinion is that my eyes are really pretty. A fact is that my eyes are hazel. If we're sticking to facts as opposed to an opinion, and opinions are emotion based, we can look at things for reality for what it really is and where you need to go and make some of those changes. So again, think about facts. A lot of our lives, and we can have facts that are different. We can find facts, but it's supporting evidence for something that is true. We can prove it, whether it be what we agree with or not agree with. There's still facts, right, to support that. So I want you to look at your paper again. And I want you to maybe put a heart around the adjectives you put down that are facts, so that you understand some of what you wrote is an opinion, and probably what somebody told you for how they see you is an opinion. Sometimes it's a fact, but most of the time that's an opinion. So put a little heart around the facts of the adjectives that are on your paper. And I give you guys a minute to do that. So let's look a little bit at a situation that's out of your control. That is the title of this, right? Our body changes that are out of our control. When we look at things that are out of our control, a lot of times we will use boxing gloves to beat ourselves up for what's going on and what's happening, or using the word should, and should is kind of a distorted self-talk because you're putting an expectation on yourself that probably isn't factual. So you are beating yourself up with some expectations that are completely out of your control. And I'm going to purposely say this to you, but you are abusing yourself by the image that you're believing or seeing that may or may not have facts behind it. Because you guys have to remember, not everything can you change or have your way. And part of life, I mean, I look at my hair and I see all the gray hair that's coming in here now, and I can't color my hair anymore, but it's part of life and I can't get frustrated. I like to call it my sparkles, and it's totally okay. But again, if you've been in this robot mode of not stopping and thinking and allowing the self-care, and self-care is taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. When you take care of your body and do deposits into your self-care, you have more to withdraw from. I tell the kiddos I work with all the time that it's like a bank account. If you don't make self-care deposits, you're going to overdraft your account and you're going to be negative in your account and you'll have nothing to pull from. Self-care looks differently for everybody. And so you guys have to realize what self-care you can do. My best friend used to laugh at me because I used to say all the time, I paid somebody to touch me because I'm not in a relationship. So I pay to go get massages so that I actually have somebody touch me. And it's crucial in self-care to have touch. So you have to see the facts and you have to believe that it's where you are today. Again, it's not forever. Let's talk a little bit about mindfulness and reflection on processing of your thoughts. I frequently will reflect after something has happened and ask myself a series of questions personally. I'm an anxious person. And so this works really well in my world to make sure that I don't make mistakes. I still do, but I know when I have to fix a situation or if it's even my issue. So if the situation happens, or if a circumstance happens, or a fight happens, or whatever, I need to take that perspective and I need to learn from it. And I do this too with different people's perspectives, is it gives me an opportunity to learn from it. It doesn't mean I have to believe every perspective, but it allows me to learn something a little bit differently. So I ask myself, is this my issue? Because if it's a circumstance out of your control, I hate to tell you, ladies, but it's not your issue. It's happening to your body. It's a perspective of what is happening to your body that's out of your control, and you can't fix it no matter how hard you try sometimes. What can I do differently? What do I need to take control of? What's a baby step I can do to make changes? How do I look at this differently? And remember, your knowledge changes every day, so you can't judge your past self either. I asked my running coach a couple of weeks ago if I shouldn't have done my surgery, and she's like, Amanda, we'll never know. And that's so true, because I have new knowledge now for how hard it is to recover, and I didn't know that before my surgery. And so we can't judge our past self. We always, always, always make the best decision at the time with the resources we have at the time that we had that information. Our knowledge changes every day. So what can you do differently, or what can you do to move to the path that you need to move to? Do you need to apologize? Do you need to apologize to yourself? We talk to ourselves more than we talk to anybody else, and it's not okay to abuse yourself verbally. I also feel it's super helpful to remember that you can make a decision in a moment at any point in time that you want to. It's totally up to you. You can stop treatment. You can stop beating yourself up. You can see things differently. You can take a different route to the grocery store. There's lots of things that you can do differently in that moment. We gain knowledge every single day. Remembering that you made that decision with your knowledge at that time is super important. I told a client the other day, I said, you're not going to judge your 10-year-old self. And she's 14. And she's like, well, no. And I was like, and you're not going to wear the clothes you wore at 10. And she was like, no. And I said, then how can you say the choices you made at that age were wrong? They were the right decisions at that time. Knowledge is key in all of this, and you cannot judge when you have new knowledge. And I'm just going to repeat that over and over and over, but you can be kind to yourself. You can show yourself grace. Everything changes, but you can only change today. Can't change tomorrow. You can't change yesterday. You can only change today. So if you don't pause and accept, it can be good and bad, right? Triggers will remind you where you're at. And triggers are another thing, because if you're being triggered for something that happened in the past, have you dealt with that? Do you need to revisit that? Do you need to accept that? They're there for a reason, but it doesn't mean you need to visit them every time. There's times I get triggered and I'm like, whoa, hold on. I've dealt with that. I don't need to go back and deal with that again. I'm good. Let's move forward. That's a past issue. That's not today. There's no facts to support that trigger is true today. So again, that goes back to acceptance. Even if your body, just like my run Sunday, my body wasn't working the way I wanted. I had to accept my body wasn't going to work that day. And that's okay. That was Sunday. That's not today. That wasn't yesterday. Listen to your body. If I have learned anything through my injury, it is learning to listen to my body. It is learning that sometimes I need to rest. Sometimes I need to chill out. Sometimes I need to do self-care. Sometimes I need to do nothing. And that's okay. But you have to listen to your body. Be kind to yourself, to your words, to your body, to your circumstances, to your situation, to where you are today. It changes every single day. Another thing I want to kind of talk about is that emotional drainage is the most exhausting thing that we will ever do. There's so many things that we do in life that have to do with our emotions, and it takes everything out of your body. Everything. I have clients that go home and tell me, gosh, I went home from session and I slept. And I was like, yep, it was a hard session. There was a lot of emotions. So if you need to rest because you went through something emotional that day, or you had a really tough doctor's appointment, or you had a really tough situation, rest, sleep, allow the drainage from emotions in your body to relax you and rest, because that's what you need. Be aware that some days you may need to take care of yourself more than others. And again, that's okay. Your emotions are stored in your gut. So if you're not taking care of your emotions, your gut is going to bother you. It's going to hurt. It's going to have IBS. It's going to have all kinds of fun things going on. So you guys have to take care of you, including those emotions. So that is all I have written. So we can open the floor for questions if you guys would like to do that. I know I went through it kind of fast. Does anybody have any questions, comments, things they want to share? Something you may have learned? However, I can't unmute. Oh, Allison is coming back.
Oh, yes. Well, I just wanted to first of all say thank you for that. And it is such a relatable topic. And just the reminder of taking that self-blame out of it, I think is so important, right? Is like, you know, for me, it's the medication, the tamoxifen that I take has made me gain 5 pounds a year every year since I got on it. So now I'm 4 years in, and that's 20 pounds heavier than I was starting this journey. And I cut out carbs and I cut out sugar and I walk 5 miles a day and I work out with a trainer twice a week, and it doesn't reverse the effects. And my oncologist said, you're lucky. For a lot of people, it's more. And I was like, well, I don't know how that makes me feel, but you know, just the reminder that like, I'm doing this to be here and to be alive, and, you know, to be a wonderful partner to my husband and a mama to my baby. And, you know, the best version of myself may not look like the version of myself that was me before this whole journey started. And sometimes I think you're right. We're just hardest on ourselves. So it's nice for the reminder to have permission to be kind and gentle to ourselves as well. So thank you for that, Amanda.
Of course. And it's important because we do make changes, and you can't compare your story to anybody else's, because you're created in a certain way with a certain dynamic. And, you know, my sister-in-law has had breast cancer, and she walked every single day through her whole entire journey. Even on chemo days, she was out there walking as much as she could. And she was just sharing with me a few weeks ago, like how frustrating it is, because she used to do Ironman and she can't anymore. But she knows she can walk. And so she does that to the fullest that she can. Anybody else want to share, have questions, comments, want clarification on anything? You guys are so quiet. I don't know your guys' journey, but we all have one.
This is Isabel. I was wanting to share something that's going on with me. I finished my chemo about, I guess, 6 weeks ago. And one of the things that's frustrating to me is that through the whole thing, I kept saying, okay, I know I'm going to lose my hair, but it's going to grow back. And, you know, I look forward to that time. And I guess in my own head, I had the expectations because my mom went through chemo, and I heard of other people that the same thing happened, that their hair came back like curly or, you know, prettier. And mine's coming back. It is just like, I look like a Chia Pet. It's like straight as can be. My hair wasn't straight before. That was one of my my I think best features was my hair. and it's disappointing to me. I don't know. I feel disappointed and frustrated with it, but I know, that there's going to be things I can do with it. But it's just a frustration of something positive I was looking forward to at this time.
But it's also that frustration of that's where it is today. And Isabel, that doesn't mean that's where it's going to be forever. And that doesn't mean that's what it's going to look like. And that doesn't mean any of that. So you have to remember that's your frustration today. And I'm sorry that that's your frustration today. But that doesn't mean forever. And with time or with supplements or with whatever, hope that it will grow back. It's an opportunity, but you also have to be careful with expectations, because if we put an expectation that it's going to be this long, beautiful hair, it may not be that. But today, you feel like a Chia Pet, but that's today. Okay?
Okay, yeah. And Allison, you kind of expressed to me one day too about your eyelashes, and another alternative you took because your eyelashes didn't come out as beautiful as they were when you prior to losing them. And I've tried to think of all of these things because this support group has really offered a lot of that to me. But it's just I think that is one of the things that I knew things were going to happen that I was not going to be happy with, but I think that whole expectation thing has been a frustrating thing for me now, because I'm hopefully on the road to have other things happening, and I want to have expectations, because in some ways those are the things that help get me through the hard times that I'm going through. I have my surgery on Thursday, and I feel like I need to have these expectations, but at the same time now I'm
But there's a difference
hesitant to
between,
have them.
right, but there's a difference between expectations that are opinions and facts. Stay in the facts. Look at different perspectives. There's so many different perspectives. You're saving money on shampoo right now. You don't have to do a lot to get ready in the morning. There's a lot of things perspective wise that you can see differently with not having a lot of hair right now. And I will definitely be sending some big, huge vibes for you on Thursday. And thank you for sharing with us, Isabel.
Isabel, that's this Thursday, right?
Yes, it is this Thursday.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all sending
Thank
you
you.
well wishes then. And I too appreciate you sharing. And yeah, you're right. I mean, my eyelashes are a funny thing because sometimes they grow back out, and those are my things, right? I was Allison with the eyelashes before this whole journey. And, sometimes they grow all the way back out, but they still fall out every 100 days, and I have to regrow them over and over again. And that was one of my side effects. So it's just been, feeling not like myself for 60 days, and then like myself for 30 days, and then not like myself for 60 days. And I know it's not easy, and my heart just goes out to you, Isabel, because I remember that first growing out stage and not knowing what to do with it and not feeling like yourself. And you are beautiful inside and out, but I totally get it. So just know we're holding you in our hearts.
Thank you.
Did anybody else want to share?
I'll say a few things. First of all, thank you, Amanda. And Isabel, you're beautiful inside and out, and your hair will grow back. And in a year and a half, my hair, look at my hair, you guys. It is back. And my hair was, people used to think, women at the gym would say, oh, I love your hair. Where'd you get your hair from? Where'd you buy those extensions? And I would say, oh yeah, I got them at Sally's, just to be funny. But it was my hair, and it was devastating when my hair fell out. And it was my signature piece. My hair was beautiful, but it's okay. I got some nice wigs. My hair is growing back. My bangs are taking forever to grow. But at the end of the day, you're right. Like, I don't have to spend that much on maintenance. But at the end of the day, just, you just got to just think that, think of other things, think of yourself, as, think of the other things that are positive, like see yourself as happy, and pray, and before you know it, things will get better. I don't know, the exercise that we did tonight was good, because sometimes you never, well, I shouldn't say I don't reflect on how I see myself. I'm too busy worried about what other people think, or do they like me, or what do they think of me now, and it's like, I have the scar, where my port was, and I'm trying to get that fixed, and I'm trying to, look, make myself look as normal as possible. But the one thing I can say is that the things that people say to me, to my face, are positive, they're encouraging, and it helps me push forward, and it gives me the confidence, because at the end of the day, I can put on a ton of makeup, I can get dressed, I can make myself look fabulous, but deep down inside, I'm insecure. And you know what? I'm not going to be that insecure person anymore. I know who I am, I know what I'm capable of, and I know that I'm brave, and that I can, and that I'm a good person, and I help others too, so I'm not going to, this was a good exercise, and thank you, and I'm not going to think about the past, or how I look, or like, now I have a gut. I never had a gut before.
Me too.
And now I'm struggling with, taking my shirt off, and now I only see like one normal breast, and the other one looks, just like Barbie, and it's just funny, and I'm like, oh my God, it's challenging, and that's why we're here. And I'm so grateful for Allison and our group, because at the end of the day, none of us are perfect, but we are perfect.
But it's also that reality of opinions are emotion based and don't matter, because we all have them. And just because my opinion is one thing doesn't mean that that's your opinion. What's your favorite color?
Navy blue.
Well, mine's purple, so your color stinks. I mean, really, that's what it is. It's an opinion.
Right.
And anybody can say whatever they want as an opinion. That doesn't make it a fact.
But we're human, and sometimes
real.
And you're right. But sometimes people give their opinion when it's not needed. And this happens even in a professional setting. And that's where it starts to irritate me, because I go to work with a positive attitude. I am kind. I have common courtesy. I work hard. I'll go above and beyond. But when they start acting like buttheads, I can't deal with it. And they start giving you, like opinion, just saying things that are inappropriate, whatever. That just, to me, is just not right. It's not healthy.
But you don't have to listen to it, because it's an opinion, and we're all allowed to have them.
And I used to. I really did. Until I reached the age of 50. And then I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm done. I threw in the towel, and now I'm just like, I feel like I'm surfing the wave. I'm not trying to swim against the tide. Now I'm just hanging on, and I'm going to go for the ride, and I'm going to make it the best I can. That's it.
Don't fit in anybody's box. We're allowed to be on our own box, and people's opinions are an opinion. We all have them. It doesn't mean we need to listen. You're in control of you. You can only change, fix, or repair you. So stay in you. Don't worry about anything else.
I agree. And I tell my mom that the same, as she gets older, she lost her teeth, and it's changed the way she feels about herself. But I'm saying, God, Mom, you got beautiful, like dentures. They look fabulous. Nobody knows unless you tell them. So it's just all in our mind, right? Our mind is a very tricky thing, and we have to take care. I'm not worried about my gut right now. I'm worried about my mind. I'm worried about, taking care of my mind, so I can take care of my life, my family, myself, and be at peace.
Self-care, self-care, self-care.
Every day, all day long, all day, every single day.
And I have clients that say that's selfish. No, it's not. If you have nothing to give because you're not taking care of you, because nobody will take care of you but you, then you have nothing to give to anybody else. Okay. We have a couple more minutes. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Well, again, I really appreciate this opportunity and I really do hope that you guys learned something. I am happy to send Allison. You guys can email me questions if you have them. If you need anything, let me know. I'm happy to help if I can. Again, I know this journey's hard. My battle with depression has been crazy by having my main coping skill of being running taken from me and my body. I mean, I have 2 different size legs now. I limp all the time. I will probably never walk normal again. My life is forever changed due to an injury. And it's hard, you guys. I get it. But the reality is that my depression is temporary. Some days are good, some days are bad. Sometimes it was really bad. But it's today, and I can only change today. So stay on that perspective, mindfulness, and awareness. Okay.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing your time and knowledge with us this evening. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate being here. Super exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. And Amanda, you'll send me your email so I can forward you the in-kind letter?
I will, for sure.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And hopefully it was good information. I feel like it was hard when you don't have anybody to know, and I can't see anybody. So I don't know if like people were dead or not. I'm like, okay, talking to myself.
I know that's the online conundrum, isn't it? But
right.
The flip side is we get to have you with us from Arizona. So
yeah, and it's very fun. But it's funny because my son was in Albuquerque this weekend and I was like,
oh
wait
my
a
gosh.
minute. So,
well,
yeah.
If you ever tag along, you'll have to come visit Pink Warrior House. We actually have a house. It's a beautiful space. So
I haven't been there in so many years. My uncle used to live there. So
well, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your
welcome.
evening, and we really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for reaching out. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.